Hello everyone, welcome to Understanding Security Controls, Preventive, Detective, and Corrective. This is part of the CompTIA Security Plus exam series. My name is Dr. Derek Smith and I am president of Certified IT Academy. Let's kick off things with a big picture view. What exactly are security controls and why do they matter? Think of security controls as the tools, policies, and actions we put in place to protect our digital world. Whether it's your personal data or a massive corporate network, security controls are the front line and backup defense systems for your organization or your home. They serve three major purposes: to safeguard assets, to reduce vulnerabilities, and to minimize the impact of threats. Let's break those down more narratively. When I say safeguard assets, I'm talking about everything that has value in your environment. This means your customer data, your company secrets, software, physical servers, even the employees themselves. You have to protect your employees. The idea is to keep these assets safe from harm. That includes unauthorized access, corruption, or outright theft. Think of it like placing a high-volume painting in a museum. You don't just hang it up, you protect it with glass, motion sensors, security guards, things like that. Next is reducing vulnerabilities. It's all about shrinking the windows of opportunity for attackers. Every system has weaknesses. Maybe a piece of software wasn't updated or an employee clicks a malicious link. Controls help close those gaps. It's like fixing a leaky roof before the storm hits. And finally, when I talk about minimizing the impact of threats, we acknowledge that even the best systems can be breached. That's why we have recovery strategies, things like backups, response teams, incident management, to make sure one breach doesn't take down the entire operation. To manage these goals, we categorize controls into three functional types: preventative, detective, and corrective. Preventative controls are your preemptive moves. Detective controls help spot what went wrong, and corrective controls help you discover and learn from the incident. When I talk about preventative controls, I'm talking about things like fences or security guards or dogs or intrusion prevention systems, things like that. When I talk about detective controls, I'm talking about things like incident response systems, IDSs, or things like cameras in your organization to detect that someone has been there, things like that. And corrective are those that are going to, again, help us recover and learn from the incident. All this leads to a bigger philosophy we live by in cybersecurity, and that philosophy is called defense in depth. That means using multiple layers of protection, so even if one fails, others will catch the problem. Think of it like this. If I have a building I want to protect, I'll have multiple layers of protection. So let's start with the perimeter of the building. I might have a fence surrounding the entire building. Once you come through the controls in the fence, I might have a security guard that's allowing you in and checking your ID cards. Once you get past the security guard, I might have other security guards patrolling the area, maybe even with their dogs. Once you get to the building, I'm going to have locks on the door to prevent you from getting into the building. These are all different layers of security, and these equate to defense in depth. Let's move deeper into the first category, preventative controls. These are all about stopping attacks before they start. Think of them as the moat around the castle. For starters, access controls are one of the most common examples. This includes usernames, passwords, smart cards, fingerprint scanners, and multi-factor authentication. Imagine you're logging into your company's financial software. It's not enough to just know the password. The system also wants a fingerprint or a code from your phone. That double check can be the difference between safety and a data breach. Firewalls are another great example. These act as digital gatekeepers, filtering traffic based on rules. Advanced firewalls can look deep into the traffic data to see if anything suspicious is trying to sneak through. It's like a bouncer at a club checking not just your ID, but also your behavior. Then there's security awareness training, something many overlook. If employees know how to spot a phishing email or avoid clicking unknown links, they become your first layer of defense. An informed team is a secure team. And don't forget about physical security. You could have all the digital protections in place, but if someone walks into your server room and plugs in a malicious USB stick, it's game over. That's why key cards, locked rooms, and surveillance cameras are still vital. The goal with preventative controls is to block issues before they happen. It's proactive, it's strategic, and it's essential. Now I want to move into detective controls. Let's be real, even the best prevention can't stop everything. That's where detective controls come into play. They're your eyes and your ears to help you understand when something suspicious is happening or has already happened. We look for things like alerting on abnormal behavior that's observed through your security controls, or identifying different patterns of attack that might be observed by your security folks, and collecting forensic evidence if a breach was ever to occur. Let's say you have an intrusion detection system, or IDS. This system constantly monitors network traffic, looking for signs of trouble, whether that's a known malware signature or unusual patterns that could mean someone snooping around. If it finds something odd, it sends an alert. Then there's log monitoring. Every time someone logs into a system, opens a file, or updates software, it gets logged. When you monitor these logs, you can start to spot trends like repeated failed login attempts at 2 a.m. Now, that's a red flag. Security Information and Event Management Systems, or SIEMs, takes this a step further. They pull in data from across your network, correlate it, and give you a clear view of what's going on. Think of it like the control center in a movie where they track everything in real time. Physical surveillance also counts. Motion detectors, badge swipes, and CCTV footage can all reveal suspicious activity in your building. And then there are honeypots. These are decoy systems designed to attract hackers. Once they take the bait, you learn a ton about their method without compromising your actual assets. Detective controls help you catch threats quickly and gather intel to respond effectively. So what happens after something goes wrong? That's where corrective controls come into play. They help fix the issue, recover your systems, and make sure it doesn't happen again. So with your corrective controls, your goal is to minimize the damage that a breach can cause to your organization. Your goal is also to restore operations to the way they were before this breach ever occurred. And then, of course, you want lessons learned. You want to learn from those incidents. First and foremost, you need an incident response plan. This is your playbook when disaster strikes. Who do you call? What systems do you shut down? How do you communicate with customers and regulators? The plan answers all of that and more. Backups are another critical corrective tool. Imagine you were hit with ransomware. Your files are locked and the attacker demands money. But if you've got recent, clean backups stored in the cloud or off-site, you can restore everything without paying a dime. Patching is also key. Once a vulnerability is exploited, the vendor often releases a fix. Applying that patch ensures the same hole can't be used again. And don't underestimate antivirus software. It's constantly updated to detect and remove malware that might have slipped through. Together, these tools and actions form your digital recovery team. Corrective controls are all about resilience. It's not about just getting back online. It's about learning and strengthening your defenses. Now let's take a look at how these controls work together. You might be wondering, do I really need all three types? Well, the answer is absolutely. Let me walk you through a quick example of how they work in harmony. Say you've got a firewall that blocks most malicious traffic. That's your preventive layer. But an attacker finds a way in. Your IDS detects the strange behavior and sends an alert. That's your detective layer. You activate your incident response plan, isolate the system, and restore from backup. That's your corrective layer. This multi-layer defense, known as defense in depth, as I described earlier, ensures there's always a safety net. If one control misses the threat, another catches it. Now that's smart security. Let me give you a few exam tips and summarize what we covered today. If you're studying for the CompTIA Security Plus exam or just looking to sharpen your skills, this part is for you. Remember, you need to understand what each type of control does. You need to recognize real-world examples and be able to categorize scenarios. You'll see questions like, what type of control is a biometric scanner? That's preventative. Or what about log monitoring? That's detective. Here's a quick recap. Preventive controls stop issues before they start. Detective controls monitor and alert during or after an attack. And corrective controls help you recover and strengthen defenses. Mastering these concepts not only helps you pass the exam, it sets you up to build truly secure environments. That's a wrap on today's deep dive into security controls. Whether you're new to cybersecurity or you're a seasoned pro, understanding these layers of defense is key to building resilience. If you found this video helpful, do me a favor. Like, subscribe, and drop a comment with your questions or topic requests. I love hearing from you. Until next time, stay secure and stay ahead.